What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik. I'm the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and I'm back with another Madden all-time roster or legends roster video as I'm building this. Last time I did quarterbacks, I was working with the Arizona Cardinals, so got them together with Kurt Warner. I kept Kyler Murray on there. He added Neil Lomax. This time we're looking at the Falcons, and first up is Matt Ryan. Of course, didn't change anything with him except for we kind of tweaked some of the ratings a little bit to reflect prime Matt Ryan, which I think he's probably a little bit past that right now because he's 35 years old and may actually even end up getting traded at the end of the season, or who knows, maybe even during the season. We don't know what happens. But next up is the most exciting guy to put on this team, and it is Michael Vick. So I'll give you a chance to to see Michael Vick in the uniform that he actually wore, or some uniforms that he actually wore a little bit later. But this is the Vick that we got, which I think came out pretty well. Of course, if you don't know anything about Madden updating and editing, you can't only change certain parts. So you can't change the birth year or the birth month, the birthday, the year's pro, anything like that. So unless you're creating them from scratch, which of course creating them from scratch is a little bit tougher. It's easier to grab people who exist and kind of edit them from there. So this is Vick, 6 foot, 215 pounds. And I was trying to figure like what would be the best year which to base a Michael Vick create a player from, trying to get like his prime year. And it's debatable, and of course we're only talking about with the Falcons because that's what this is for, because his best statistical season was in 2010. He's 30 years old and he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is his best statistical season. But with the Falcons, I'd argue that his second year in the league in 2002 was his best year. The Falcons were 8-6-1 that year. Now they did have a year where they were 11-4. That was in 2004. But this particular year, he only completed 55% of his passes, which is a little low, but he almost threw for 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And of course, he was a demon as a dual threat. He rushed for 777 yards and 8 touchdowns that year. So just crazy year. Like in 2006, he did rush for 1,000 yards, but the passing numbers weren't quite as good. That year threw 13 interceptions, so we didn't take that one. So we took this one. So you're looking at the equipment. We went with the Shut Air XP Pro VTD, the 3-bar running back single face mask. We got the visor on there, and the rest of this stuff is pretty much, if you know what Mike Vick looked like playing, that's what this is. Let's look to the good stuff, the ratings. I kind of based this a little bit on Lamar Jackson from an athletic standpoint, and I kind of use Lamar's ratings as a benchmark. I think that Vick's a little faster than Lamar Jackson is now. I think he was. Acceleration is through the roof. The agility. I mean, if you have never watched highlights of Mike Vick, I advise you do that. Awareness, I didn't give him that high because we're talking about the second year. Ball carrier vision, break sack, break tackle, carrying, change of direction, injury. It was starting to get a little bit hurt towards the end of that season. He only missed one game that year though. Juke moves, play action, the speed, I gave him a 98. Y'all don't understand how fast Mike Vick was. If you are wondering if that's right, you don't understand how fast Mike Vick was. 90 spin move, 90 stamina, gave him a 72 stiff arm, 69 strength. The deep throw is 85, medium 87, and the short throw is 89. Throwing on run is a 97. Throw power, he had one of the strongest arms in the NFL, 97. Throw under pressure, 85. Toughness is a 95, and the trucking is a 55. As far as his attributes, he is a scrambling quarterback, of course, left-handed, and he senses pressure on an average basis. I almost made that paranoid, but I decided to keep that off. Does fight for extra yards, and that'll be about it. So we'll take a look at some highlights of Mike Vick now. All right, so as I'm looking at him on the field, it feels like maybe he should be a little bit darker. I don't know. And maybe his arms should be just a tad bit smaller. Definitely always has some muscle there, but I don't know. He might look a little like Michael Pittman Sr. here. But there's a nice little scramble. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're watching these highlights were not easy to come by, because I had the game already set on, I think it's on All Pro, but it's a lot of legends already on some of these rosters, because I used somebody's base legends roster, and I used their base legends roster because they had a lot of players named and with good equipment already. So I was like, oh, well, this is cool. I'm going to redo all the ratings anyway, one at a time, but I use it as a base. But so when I have this roster loaded up and I'm trying to take footage from it, I'm playing against like Superman. So these highlights do not come very easy at all. So had to take what you can get. But this is Mike Vick. You can see I put him in the uniforms that he wore back early in his career. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think. But now let's take a look at somebody else. Next up, we got Steve Bartowski. Y'all might not know. You might not know, but Steve Bartowski was supposed to be like the savior for the Atlanta Falcons franchise back when he was taken #1 overall in 1975 out of Cal. He came in, started 11 games as a rookie. Wasn't that great. He had 13 touchdown passes, 15 interceptions. He completed 45% of his passes that year. 45% of his passes is not as bad then as it would be now, but still not very good. So we went to find like his best season, and I would have to say it was 1980 when he was 28 years old, started all 16 games, led the Falcons to a 12-4 record, 3,544 yards, led the league in touchdown passes with 31, had 16 picks, and had a really strong year for them. Yeah, he was #1 overall. So the Falcons have taken Vick #1 and Bartowski #1 as far as their quarterback choices. But here you go. You see him. He had the old school face mask. He is from Des Moines, Iowa. And the appearance, he's 6'4", 216 pounds. The helmet, like, it was a weird time, right? Because the helmet was a little rounder when he played. But this is the face mask, and that's the only face mask that you can use this helmet with. So that's what we went with. The equipment is pretty basic. And the rating, let's see. Now, Bartowski was not a really super mobile guy at all, but we did give him a 70 acceleration, 60 on the agility, 84 on his awareness, 45 for ball carrier vision, 40 for break sack. And you see the break tackle's not that high. Injuries pretty good. Play action, we gave him a 79. Probably should have been a little bit higher than that. And then for speed, not much. Stamina, not much. Let's throw the throwing stuff. Maybe he got a little short change on the deep throw accuracy, because he could fling the ball pretty well. I would say you might, we're gonna bump up the deep throw accuracy, because the reason why I originally had it this low is because we're looking at earlier in his career. At this point in his career, throwing 31 touchdowns, 16 picks. Clearly his passing had progressed significantly. He only completed 55% of his passes that year, but we're talking about in 1980, and in 1980 that was a pretty significant completion percentage. So we got to give him some love on that. So we'll fix that. Throwing and runs a 75. Throwing power, definitely had a good arm, 94. Under pressure is a 70, and the toughness is a 90. And before we take him out here on the field, we will go ahead and tweak those throwing accuracy numbers. Let's take a look at him on the field. All right, I'm telling my age a little bit here, y'all. Steve Bartowski was one of the first, I want to say one of the first quarterbacks I liked. Because I really wasn't a huge Steve Bartowski fan. I'm going to be totally honest. I really liked the red uniforms when I was a kid of the Falcons. So it made me like them a little bit more. And I knew that he was supposed to be good. And I remember my brother really liked Bartowski, but he never really turned out to be exactly what we thought. They didn't have a face really that matched him. He had curly hair, but overall, this definitely hits on him good enough with the uniform and the helmet and all of that. So you guys, I appreciate you watching as always. Make sure you hit up the comments. Tell me who you think is coming next. We're kind of going in alphabetical order with the teams. What quarterbacks you think you should be able to see. God bless and peace.